I know you can chant.
Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
Thank you, Anu. Welcome back. Welcome back to probably one of the most difficult chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. We covered up to verse 17, and we will continue with the next 4 verses. Just to recap, this title of this chapter is Sannyasa Yoga. The title or the subject matter of this chapter is to remove any confusion we have towards sannyasa. Because in the 4th chapter of the Gita, Krishna was talking about sannyasa, and Arjuna took that sannyasa as a lifestyle. He thought that only lifestyle sannyasi, a person who renounced the worldly life and dedicate himself into that exclusive spiritual life, he only can progress. So to remove that confusion, Krishna gave this chapter, the details of this chapter. To simplify things, what we did was, we tried to understand, we made an attempt to understand the different meaning of the word sannyasa. The word sannyasa literally means you're giving up something. So technically, anybody who has given up something can be called as a sannyasi. So depending whether it is good or bad, depending upon what exactly he is giving up. So that's very important. To illustrate that point, we said, right, there is Kevala sannyasi. Kevala sannyasi is the one who renounces all his duties, all his job. He's a couch potato. He won't do anything. He don't work anything. He is lazy. That type of fellow can be called as a Kevala sannyasi. He just renounced his karma, and which is not a good lifestyle at all. And the second category we discussed was the person who is no more interested in the worldly life. There are some people, even though they are not self-realized or they haven't made much progress, they don't have much interest in the day-to-day worldly affair. They are not interested in movies or going out to a restaurant or a trip, whatnot, nothing. Such people are known as lifestyle sannyasi or vividisha sannyasi. So that's the so-called orange-robed sannyasis we see. Usually the word sannyasi is associated with that particular category of people. The third category of the people, third and fourth, are karma yogis. They also gave up something. Initially, when you pursue karma yoga, you give up your attachment for a particular fruit of action. Please, we are not giving up the fruits of action. Nobody can do that. Nobody is giving up the expectation of the fruits of action, but the binding dependency to a fruit of action, a binding dependency to a particular outcome is given up. And then what happened? You get a little bit more maturity. You feel that it's not my skill alone is not going to bring the results. It's Ishvara's grace. So that is the 4 and 5. They are karma yogis. And finally, once you renounce your identity with your body, mind, and intellect, and you see yourself as pure Atma, that is the highest sign, means kind of sannyasi. And when Krishna was talking about a sannyasi in the 4th chapter, he was referring to the category number 5. The category number 5, who is a vidvat sannyasi. Vidvat sannyasi means the one who has renounced the karma through knowledge, only through the mind, nothing else. He will act in the world even busier than a normal person, but he is the real sannyasi and he is the ultimate sannyasi. And that type of sannyasi is known as vidvat sannyasi, whereas the person taken up the sannyasa lifestyle, he is known as Vividisha sannyasi. So this much we saw. And when we saw that how that sannyasi performs action, or what exactly the way he will work. We finished this verse, but Anu, if you can just chant this verse one more time, verse 17.
Tadbuddhayastadaatmanah tannishthaastatparayanaha gacchantya punaravrittim jnananidhuta kalmashaha.
It's a beautiful verse. That's why I wanted to recap this once again, right? So that sannyasi, mind you, which category? Number 5. Please keep that in the mind. So if you apply the number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4 with this definition, it will fail. So that's why that division is very important. Keep that in your head always. So tat buddhayaha. Buddhi means intellect. A person whose intellect is awakened to that reality or the truth, Brahman. Normally, my intellect cannot understand or get a feeling of that Atman. It can get everything else. But a person who had known Brahman, a person who is self-realized, his buddhi would be on this tat. Tat means that. That indicates the truth or the absolute reality, Brahman. So that is why that is tad buddhayaha. Then what? Tadat tat buddhayaha tadatmanaha. We joked, Swamiji's name is Swami Tadatmananda. It's one of the most apt name given for a monk, right? Atma means self. The one who has identified himself as Tat. The one whose self-identity is Tat. The one who identifies himself as the Atman. That is Tadatma. So Tadatmananda, Swami Tadatmananda means the person who has, this name indicates that he has identified with, the one who has identified with Atman. Beautiful name, Tadatma. Then what? Tad buddhayaha, tadatmanaha, tan nishta. Nishta means commitment. A person is committed to the Brahman because he is established in Brahman. And then tat parayana. This parayana is a beautiful word, right? Tat means again Brahman, the absolute reality. Parayana. That is parayana. Ayana means what? Anybody knows what is the word ayana? Journey. Journey. So Ramayana means what? Rama's journey. That's what it means literally. Ayanam means journey. Parayanam means what? Most important, most significant. Param means the ultimate, right? Param. You know, right? When India developed its supercomputer, it was named as Param, supreme. That's what it means. Paramanu. What is that? The smallest unit, the ultimate small, the minute unit of the atom. So Parayanam means the supreme journey, or the most important life journey. A person's whose most important life journey is discovering Atma. See, this Sanskrit is so beautiful. I'm just telling you, just explaining the words, it makes very clear, right? The words, how each word is carefully chosen and placed here. So, tat buddhayaha, tadatmanaha, tannishta, tat parayana. That's the first line, right? So, then he tells gacchantya na punaravrti. Avrti means what? Frequency. Punaravrti means what? Again and again and again. It indicates your life and death, rebirth. So punaravrti means born again and again and again. Now, na punaravritti means what? You see, look at the Sanskrit again. Negation. So, na punaravritti means gachanti. He attains a state which is na punaravritti. There won't be any rebirth for him because his ownership of his karma has been renounced. We had this discussion earlier. Why there is no rebirth? Technically speaking, our reservoir of karma, which is the karma shaya, what we call as karma shaya or the sanchita karma, has infinite number of karmas. So how can somebody get away with that? Only when you renounce your identity with that, right? See, you were the custodian of a bank account. Let's say that somebody has made you the custodian till a child becomes 18. So till you were the custodian, you had the responsibility of that account. But once the account is transferred to the child, are you responsible for that money? Absolutely not. And another good example. Let's say that you have $2 million in the bank. You are responsible. The more money you have, you will be the beneficiary. The less money you will have, you will be the sufferer. But the end of your death, meaning after your death, still there is money. Do you have any benefit or do you have any loss? Let's say that you have $1 million debt. Are you responsible for that? No, because my identity with that bank account or that this is gone. That's it. So that's why gachanti punar avrti, right? Jnana nirbhuda kalmashaha. This jnana, by knowledge, how? By this knowledge, what he does? Nirbhuda kalmashaha. Kalmashaha means impurity. Nirbhuda means destroyed. Because that person's, all his impurity will be destroyed through knowledge. That's why he won't come back. He will attain the self-realization state. One question. What do you mean by removing the impurity here? There are different types of impurity. What impurity you're measuring or talking about? The body will have impurity. Right? Let's say that I had high blood pressure before the self-realization. After the self-realization, do you think that the blood pressure will go away? No. Only thing is that you know that the blood pressure belongs to the body and that body is separate from me. Understand? People have a lot of wrong understanding about self-realization. People think that when you get self-realized, you will have a glow in your body and everything will go. Not at all. You know, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa had cancer. Self-realization. So impurity, the kalmasha here we are talking is only the ajnana, right? The, what you call the ignorance. That's it. That will be removed and your mind will be pure. But that doesn't mean that you have to, means all the problems of your body, the defects of the body will go away. No. So this is very important. Only through this knowledge you will gain and you will attain the highest. So this verse is so beautiful. Again, tad buddhaya tadatmanaha tannishta tat para ayana, and you get gachanti na punaravrti. So that if you remove that na, the whole meaning is changed. If you remove the word na, it means you get the rebirth. I see some people when they make that mistake. That's what I'm just telling. Sometimes if you eliminate one letter, it changes the meaning completely. How? You remove all the impurity through the knowledge. So let's go to the next verse, which is one of the most beautiful verse of the Bhagavad Gita.
Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavihastini Shuni Chaiva Shvapake Cha Pandita Samadarshinaha.
So in the second chapter, last 18 verses, what you heard? You heard the characteristics of a person who has reached this higher state. Here, the person who has reached the higher state is the real sannyasi, right? He is the real sannyasi. And what are the characteristics of this real sannyasi? When all his mental impurities are removed, when he looks around the world, 99% of the people are not in that state. Is he going to look down those people? What should be the attitude of a master or a pandita? The word used here is pandita. Pandita is a literally beautiful word in Sanskrit. It tells the one who possesses panda is called pandita, right? The one who possesses panda is called pandita. So sometimes you call that, like, who is a dhanavan? The one who possesses dhana is dhanavan. So the one who possesses panda is pandita. And now the question is, what is panda? Panda means, see, in North India, this meaning has been completely distorted. Right now, these priests in all these ghats, if you go to Varanasi or Rishikesh, these people who just try to manipulate your ignorance, such people, meaning there are good pandas are there, but the one who does the puja is always called as pandita. But that's not the intended meaning. The intended meaning is the one whose intellect is in the Atma, Tad Buddhaya, the person whose Atma Vishaye Buddha. That is the one definition. The one who has known the Atma is the Pandita. So a person, a wise person, a person, knowledgeable person, a person who has realized the truth, that person's characteristics is Pandita, beautiful word, Samadarshinaha. Darshinaha means he sees or he treats, he values everybody as how. Pandita Samadarshinaha, he cannot discriminate anybody. Pandita Samadarshinaha. This is very beautiful. Now, let's try to understand. Then, to make it very clear, Krishna gave a few examples. So, Vidya Vinaya Sampanna Brahma. Again, when Bhagavad Gita uses the word Brahman, please keep in mind. Chapter 4, verse, I forgot the verse number. It's 14, I believe. Guna Karma Vibhagashaha. So, who is a Brahman here? Literally means the one who has predominantly Sattva Guna. So, a person who has predominantly Sattva Guna, I would hate to use the word Brahman because that can bring wrong impression in the mind of people. We are not talking about the jati here. And also this verse is an answer who discriminate people against jati, right? So a spiritual person, not only spiritual person, two other characteristics were given. Vidya Vinaya Sampanne, a spiritual person who is endowed with knowledge. And also his characteristics is Vinaya. What is Vinaya? Humility.
Humble, yeah.
Yeah. So naturally, this Vidya and Vinaya goes together. You see some scholars who do not have the true knowledge, right? They are arrogant, bookish knowledge. A real learned person, a real spiritual person. For example, you look at Dalai Lama. how humble he is, how simple he is, how humorous he is. He is the true example of Vidya Vinaya Sampanna Brahmana. So if you look at Dalai Lama, nobody can criticize him, that type of person, right? There are so many masters like that. You look at Shankara, you look at Narayana Guru, you look at Vivekananda, all these people will come under that category. So, in other words, a spiritual person who manifests Vidya and Vinaya, anybody will respect that person. I was told by some people, like when they come to this room itself, people will get up and show their respect. I used to hear about the Swami Chinmayanandaji, like when he used to walk into the airport lounge, most of the people may not have heard of him, but when he jumps in, like people used to get up automatically. That much of spiritual charm was there in him. Vivekananda had that type of skills. Like when he get into any room, everybody used to get that attention of everybody. So that person on one side, Vidya Vinaya Sampanna Brahmana. Then second one is Gavi. Gavi means a cow. A cow. Then you may think, okay, Hindus respect cow, that's why. Okay, so that's, if that is the case, it's not just cow. Look at that. Hastini. Hasti means what? Hathi in Hindi? Elephant. Hasti. You know how the elephant got Hasti, the name? What is Hasta? Hand. So it means the animal with one hand. So elephant appears to have one hand, right? That's how it got the name. If these languages are very interesting. So Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmana Gavi Hasti. Okay, then you may say that, okay, elephant also, you bring elephant to temple and it is considered as sacred, cow is sacred, a spiritual person is sacred. You must respect when Krishna says, that's fine. Not just that. It tells Shuni. What is Shuni?
Dog.
Dog. So when I say dog, don't think the pet dog people keep on their lap here. Imagine a stray dog in India. You don't even dare to touch that dog. That dog. Forget about that. Chayeva Shwapaka. Who is Shwapaka? Again, Shwa means dog. Paka means what? Cook. So a person who cook dog, right? A dog eater. In our culture, eating dog is considered as the most primitive manifestation of the human being, right? Why? There is a reason. Suppose you want to eat a deer or a rabbit or any other animal, you will have to hunt for it. What is the speciality of the dog? You call the dog will come to you out of love. And a person who can kill that animal who trusted and eat, he's considered as like the lowest expression of the human being. So that is known as the dog eater. Even to that dog eater, Pandita Samadarshanaha, a person who has known the truth, he sees that divinity in everybody. So the person who is awakened to this truth, he cannot look down anybody. This is the highest truth. So when in ancient times, when somebody don't allow a person to enter the temple, honestly, have they read this verse? So this divinity is seen everywhere. Swami Vivekananda, after quoting this verse, he said, it is easy to say this, but we need to practice it. That's very important. So just if you remember everything, if you forget everything, just remember one thing. Pandita Samadarshina. That's important. Okay, let's continue. Can you chant? Yeah.
Yasya sarve samarambhaha kama sankalpavarjita.
No, I think the verse is chapter changed.
Sorry.
No worries.
Yeah, I opened it for the fourth chapter, that Chaturvarnya.
Yeah.
Ihaivataichita sarkaha yesham samye sthitam manaha nirdosham hi samam brahma tasmat brahmani te sthitaha.
The next three verses, again, it's a repetition or a recap or a restatement of what is said in the second chapter. What is the characteristics of a person who has achieved this highest truth? Or what is the characteristics of a real sannyasi? So, Jita Sarga, right? Iha, Iva, Te, Jita Sargaha. So, Te meaning those. Jitaha means conquered. Sarga means, what is Sarga? Creation, technically. It here means the cycle of death and birth. So earlier we heard, right? The person who attained the highest truth, he has crossed the cycle of death and birth. So the person who has conquered, who won over the cycle of death and birth, whoever he be, right? It doesn't matter whether he is Hindu, Indian, nothing. It doesn't matter. Wherever he is, whoever he be. So that is why the universal pronoun is used. Yesham. He who has conquered this cycle of death and birth through knowledge. What is his characteristics? His mana, mind, is sthitam. His mind is stable or rooted. Where? Samye, in the sameness or the truth or the Brahman. Iha, Iva, here itself. So the person who has conquered this cycle of death and birth, who is the true sannyasi, his mind will be always established in Atman. In other words, he knows his true identity always. Please don't think that this is abstract. This is reality. Let me make it clear by stating one simple example. The Swapna Drishtanta. In the dream, you got a traffic ticket. You got 10 points. You were so worried. You were suffering. But suddenly the dream became a lucid dream. Yeah, then also you may go to the court and pay everything, but you are not that worried. Why? Because your mind is rooted in your true identity, who you really are. Before the dream became the lucid dream, your mind was rooted on your misplaced identity. Because before the dream became a lucid dream, your thought was you were in that dream personality and the suffering is permanent. But the moment you realize the truth, when your mind is rooted in the truth, what happens? You are able to live properly. So, Iha, Iva, Te, Jitaha, Sargaha, the one who has able to transcend his identity from the body mind to the Atma, his mind will be always fixed in the Atma. And what is the beauty of that? Right? Nirdosham hi samam Brahma. Why? This truth or his real identity is nirdosham. Nirdosham means it is free from any defect. If your identity is with the body has defect. Right? If your identity with the mind has defect. But if your identity is with Atma or the self, which do not have any defect. Look at that dream example. Initially, you were identified with the dream body and the mind, and the dream body and the mind had defect. For example, if you had a flu, who had flu? The dream body and the dream mind had flu and the suffering, right? And as long as you identify yourself with the body and the mind, they are not nirdoshaha. They have problems. But when you identify with Atma, you are free from all the suffering, because nirdosham hi samam. Samam here means sameness. Samam Brahma. The Brahman is free from all the problems, all the defects, right? And therefore, tasmat te stita Brahmani. So therefore, he stays and he abides in Brahman, and he will be happy. Again, we are not talking about a person who is not yet reached that state. So here we are talking about a person who has done the Karma Yoga, who has done the Upasana Yoga, who has done the Jnana Yoga, and who became the true sannyasi. So that's the next verse. Again, this is the characteristics of a person, highest sthita prajna. Let's continue.
Na prahrishyet priyam prapya, no dvichet prapya cha priyam, sthira buddhira sammudhaha, brahmavid brahmani sthitaha. Again,
it is the same idea, right? Brahmavid brahmani sthitaha. With meaning knowledge. With, the Veda means knowledge. With means the one who knows. Brahmavid means the one who knows Brahman. Right? The one who knows Brahman, he will stay in Brahman itself. Brahmavid brahmani sthita. He will stay, continue to stay, and he will be always established in the Brahman. The person who is doing a lucid dream, he will be always established in his identity outside of the dream identity. Like that, a person who knows the Brahman, who knows his real identity outside of this body and the mind, he will stay always with Brahman, right? And then he means the first verses he say, right? What is the characteristics of this person? Brahmavid brahmani sthitaha. So that is, and he will be sthira buddhi. Sthira buddhir asammudhaha. It means whose knowledge will be firm. All right. Once you know the Brahman, you will not go back. So his intellect will be stable. And sammudha means deluded. Mudha means deluded. Sammudha means specially deluded. Asammudha means not specially deluded. So the one who knows the truth, he will not be deluded, and his intellect will be very stable. No more confusion. And how he exhibits his characteristics in the world. It means there are two things, right? He tells na praharshe, right? Prapya, priyam prapya. Priyam means when something desirable he gets, he won't be overjoyed. And when he don't get something not desirable, when he gets something not so desirable, he is not extremely dejected, he will be stable. We heard this in the second chapter, similar verse, right? Dukheshu anudvignamanaha, sukheshu vikata sprhaha, vita raga bhaya krodha stitadir muniruchyate. We heard that in the second chapter. Similar verse. So he tells, na praharshet priyam prapya. He won't be elated and overjoyed when something happens, when some good things happen to him. And na udduchet prapya cha apriyam. When something that is not so priyam happens, he is not uddujaha, he is not extremely dejected. Let me try to explain this in mathematical terms. You all attended the basic math class. What is the definition of infinity? You cannot count it. So technically speaking, let's say that you have infinity. You have infinite amount of money. So if I add $1 million to that infinite amount of money, what am I going to gain? Infinity plus 1 million?
Infinity.
Yeah. So if I add 1 million times $1 million to infinity, what am I going to get?
Infinity.
And if applying the same logic, if I reduce 1 million from infinity, infinity. If I reduce 1 million from 1 million times, infinity. So the one who knows the truth, his joy is boundless, limitless. Technically speaking, infinite amount of joy he has. So let's say that Bill Gates, who has multi-billion dollars, right? And if you say that I got a coupon for $5, what does that mean to him? To thousands of billion dollars, if you add, say, $5, nothing. And if you go and say that, okay, I missed this deal, I should have used this coupon, I would have saved $3. How much he lost? Nothing. So when you have that much, these type of things happening in the world will not shake him. Yes, he may feel pleasure and pain. He may feel happy, but it will not shake him down. Shake him up or shake him down. This is Sthita Prajna. My favorite example from the spiritual tradition is from Jesus Christ, right? I told you, right? Like 2 examples were given. One is everybody in the street were screaming hallelujah and taking him, you are the king of the kings, etc. He had that 2-inch smile. That's it. After a month later, the same person was dragged through the same street, beating down, carrying a cross, and the whole crowd was abusing him. The same smile was him. And he was saying that, oh Lord, they don't know what they are doing. This is the classic example of this verse. So hundreds of examples you can see in our Puranas, in any scriptures for that matter. This is the attitude of the true sannyasi. So now, don't think that the sannyasi is the one with orange robe. Please, this is the real sannyasi. So let's go and see one more verse. Okay.
Bahyasparisheshvasattatma vindatyatmani yat sukham sabrahma yoga yuktatma sukhamakshayam ashnute.
So this sannyasi what is he going to get? Sukham ashnutam ashnute. So this is beautiful. This sannyasi gains sukham, happiness, right? A happiness which never deteriorates. Who gets that? Brahma Yoga Yuktatma. Beautiful word, right? So, Brahman means reality, the truth. Yoga Yukta, who got connected. See, yoga has two meanings. One is union. The one whose mind is united with Brahman. Here the Atma here means mind. Remember, Sanskrit is a context sensitive language. You need to know what exactly the word means. So here the word Atma refers to the mind. Yoga refers to the union. So the Atma united with Brahman. He gains that type of happiness which never deteriorates. And the first sentence he tells, right? He tells Asaktatma, whose mind is not attached to what? Bahya. So his mind is not attached to the objects of the outside world. Bahya sparsheshu. So the person whose mind is not addicted, the one who do not have binding attachments to the external world, and the one who has united with Brahman, he attains vindati, he gains happiness, sukham yat atmani. He finds that reservoir of happiness within himself. He don't need anything external to feel happy and contented. He attains the highest state of humanity, the highest possibility of humanity. Again, this is the nature of the Sthita Prajna. This is the nature of the sannyasi. So that's what today mainly we saw the attitude of the true sannyasi. Whenever I say sannyasi, it is category number 5. So we covered up to verse 21, and we will stop here. I know if you can do the chanting, we can go to a quick Q&A mode.
Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
Okay, we can go to the questions and answers. Any questions?
One question, Rajesh. So, again, why was Jesus Christ beaten like that later, or put on the cross?
This is the whole Christianity, right? Again, so I think last week I talked about that. So you have to look at Christianity from what they believe in, right? So I was trying to explain his expression of his characteristics. So per the Christian theology, the man is born out of sin, and because of the error committed by Adam and Eve, and they needed somebody sacrifice himself. And who should sacrifice? A person who is not touched by sin. So God sent his son. So that's why you see the Jesus' birth is an immaculate birth. So that person was crucified, and because of that, the sin was forgiven. This is the popular belief. I think we can stop there. I don't want to go and analyze that. But we do have an explanation from a Vedantic side, right? So the crucifixion was the crucifixion of his lower self. And when somebody, means through his practice, the whole crucifixion was symbolic per the Vedanta. What exactly he was crucifying is his own identity with the body and the mind. And immediately when you do that, the true God resurrects in your mind. That is a Vedantic kind of explanation. There is a beautiful book written by Paramahamsa Yogananda, his commentary on Bible. If you want to read that, that's very famous book. A lot of Christian people also admired that thought very well.
Paramahamsa Yogananda, what was the title? On
the title is, I just forgot the title name. I think you can just check, Google the commentary of Bible by Paramahamsa Yogananda. Yep. It's very famous book. Anybody Googling, just you can tell. So it's a very famous book, very famous book. So even theologians used to come and listen to his lectures. Okay. Any other questions? See, eventually, if truth is only one, it's true for everybody, right? I cannot have one truth which is different from somebody else's truth. People might be calling in different names. People might have different type of sadhanas. And if you take away all these peripherals and go deep, this is my firm conviction and belief that there would be some unity among all these different paths. But you should have the magnanimity to accept the other person as themselves. That's very important, right? So while I appreciate that my path is correct, I cannot say that somebody else's path is wrong. Exactly like that, I would expect the other person follow the same dharma, right? That's all. So I was doing the research on Hinduism. So the word Hinduism is an external name given to us, right? There is no scriptures where they refer the word Hindu. So one of the literal meaning, right? So the implied meaning of the word Hinduism is like it is Sindhu, river. Later point of time, one Acharya gave 3 different interpretations. It's flowing towards the truth. So it's a path towards the truth. So the river always starts from a mountain and it flows towards its ultimate destination, which is the ocean, because ocean is the source for all the water. The water goes from ocean and it will coming back to the source. So it's a path which leads you to your source. So that's one beautiful interpretation. Second beauty of a river, Hindu tradition is always compared with that river. The second beauty is that river, you see, right? There are other rivers also going in parallel. You cannot say that there is only one river that goes to ocean. So this river always accepts the other rivers also. So this tradition is like that. You need to have that type of magnanimity. So even sometimes what happens, the other river will merges with this river. That's also possible. So Gina typed it. It's the Yoga of the Jesus. That is the book of Yogananda. In fact, there was one more book. Yoga of the Jesus is there, but there is one more book. Yoga of the Jesus is the summary of that commentary. But there are verse by verse commentary of the Bible.
The second coming of Jesus
Yes,
Christ.
that is what it is, Gina. The second coming of Christ. That is it's a 2-volume book, I believe.
Yeah, it is a 2-volume.
It's a
The
lot.
second Christ
5,000
within you.
Yeah, around 5,000 pages. So that's the book. Any other comments? Okay, just repeating. Next week is the International Day of Yoga. I'll put the comments. There are, means I cannot even count how many speakers are there, how many events are there, that many programs we are organizing. So please attend whatever you can, or at least select. I'll put the details, right? So you have the head of the Yoga Institute, the head of Dr. Nagendra is there. You have yogis from different traditions. One way we organize this program, I was just talking at the beginning, was like around 120 speakers, 130 speakers. Everybody is going to talk about one concept of Yoga Sutra. So at the end, when you combine all those things together, it will be the whole Yoga Sutra. Meaning it's the sutra by sutra, but the ideas behind the sutras will be elaborated and explored. So that's what it is. And our program, when we say our, everything is ours, but the US team is organizing that program on next Monday, 20th from 8 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. So please join. We will send all the details. Mainly, we will be covering 2 topics. One is two topics from the Yoga Sutra, and Gina will be quickly doing a Yoga Nidra kind of meditation, 15 minutes. And we will have Avinith will do one or 2 asanas. It's not to make you do asana, but just give you some guidance. Mind you, it's not just us, it is the entire community. So it'll be very primitive basics, but since it is our program, please join and please invite your friends. We will send you the flyers. And Alexander will be there. He will be singing one Carnatic song, semi-classical song. It's not the full Carnatic song, but live. That's the program.
So do we have the Gita class next week, Rajasthan?
I'll tell. Let me see the schedules, because if I need to be engaged in any of those programs, definitely means, or if the program clashes with the means, if at all any program clashes with this, we'll cancel. So most probably we will cancel next week's. Definitely we cannot do the Yoga Sutra class on Sunday because that clashes with the event. So we'll continue after that. So is there any daily practice for day-to-day life activity related to Gita? Karma Yoga. That's where you start. Karma Yoga. That's what we have been discussing every day for last 3-4 chapters. Follow Panchamahayajna. Follow that attitude of surrender and attitude of Ishwararpana Buddhi, Prasada Buddhi. Panchamahayajna, avoid tamasic karma, and follow the proper work with the proper attitude. In short, follow Karma Yoga. And if you forget everything in the Gita, and if you just do that, that itself is powerful. And remember, when we discuss the 4th chapter, especially Karma Yoga developed into that depth. If you remember the final portion of the 4th chapter, everything you do in life, drinking water, eating food, going to work, sleeping, breathing, everything became Karma Yoga. And we made a statement. If you follow that a few verses very carefully, sincerely, in a week you will be a saint. That's guaranteed. This is not I said, like Shankara said. If you follow that Karma Yoga practice rigorously for a week, sincerely, it's an overnight transformation of a person. That much powerful practice. If you take the whole spirituality, if you count one practice which supersedes everything, it is Karma Yoga. It can bring that much of changes in our life if you follow it properly. Everything else is difficult, and this one anybody can follow, because the Sukshma sadhanas, which is the Raja Yoga or the meditation and all, you need certain maturity. Otherwise, even if you may go there, if your mind stays in that chitta and the muda state, it will be very hard to meditate and stay focused. So that people, if they start practicing Karma Yoga, automatically you will say that your mind getting tamed. So Karma Yoga has a magic. At least my experience, this is what I feel. Anything else? Okay. So holidays, is there any chart? I think we covered that multiple times in the previous classes. You can refer the video. Just go to the UCC YouTube channel, and if you listen to the chapter 4, definitely we put that in detail. So holidays, we will break, and anything you want to cover, one or two topic. Rohitji, I think we can do the emotional intelligence if you want. It's in my mind.
Long overdue, Rajesh.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We can do that. And, anything else? We can meet one day in person for because somebody was telling like we can meet in a walkathon or something like that, or a walking, something like that. That's also we can do. The other class somebody was suggesting. So we will find one day, all of us can meet for some time. It's long overdue right now since the COVID started. But this COVID is never ending. Like still the cases are coming up, and I don't know where it is going. Okay. So if that is the case, we can stop. Anything else? Any other questions or comments? Okay, so then let's see how the schedule goes next week. Otherwise, we'll definitely meet the week after that. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Rajesh.
Thank you.